So it's been about 7 weeks since we last spoke. I didn't mean to let it go that long because I've been wanting to do more regular updates because people have been asking how I am. So quite a lot has happened since, I think it was around the 14th of May since we last spoke. Obviously there was a World Cup which I did get to see, or am watching now as we speak. I wrote a song for Scotland, Don't Come Home Too Soon Boys, and obviously that was more in hope than expectation. And Don't Come Home in June Boys and so on with the lyrics. But a lot has happened. I think the last time we spoke I mentioned two different things. One was that I'd started to go to St Margaret's Hospice to meet the pain management team there, and I was taken from codeine to morphine, and then from morphine to morphine plus pregabalin, this other drug, and that seems to have brought the pain under control, and that's a huge thing for me. Having the pain under control is massive. I've still got nausea, or rather now I'm not calling it nausea, I'm calling it unexpected retching, so it's sudden onset of sickness rather than underlying feeling of nausea that I had before. The other thing that I mentioned last time was the fact that my chemotherapy, the cabazitaxel that I was then in the process of getting, that was supposed to take me up to July, there was some doubt over it because my cancer seemed to be spreading rather than reducing, so there was a question mark over whether the chemotherapy was being effective or being effective enough to continue with it. And in the end, a decision was made to discontinue the chemotherapy before my 8th of the 10 sessions, and that was quite dramatic. But what happened then was I had an infusion of this zoledronic acid, the bone infusion, and that's going to stand in for, if you like, the chemotherapy for the moment, in terms of trying to reduce the cancer and strengthen my bones. The other thing I mentioned last time, which is quite a dramatic turn of events, is that I was in line for this radium-223, and radium-223 is a radioactive treatment. It's administered at the Gat Naval Hospital Nuclear Medicine Department, and it's a treatment that targets the cancer in the bones, the active cancer in the bones, and it's delivered every 4 weeks. And it seems to have had a good record of pain reduction, which is what we're aiming for now, and it's got a good record on that. And I know the staff there because I had my lutetium-177, my previous radioactive isotope treatment last summer, and the staff are great, so I'm really quite looking forward to that. The good news, because in Friday I had two pieces of good news. The good news is that treatment runs from 14th of July to the 1st of December. Now, that might not mean an awful lot to people, but it means a lot to me because 1st of December is 6 months away, and that suggests that some people think I might be around in the 1st of December, which is the day before my 66th birthday, and that would please me greatly if I was around for Christmas. But certainly knowing that I've got 6 months treatment coming up, because as my oncologist says, and as I've said to my oncologist, while you're in treatment you feel secure. It's when you're in between treatment or out of treatment that the fear sets in, and the trepidation sets in that something's going to go awry. So the fact that I've been going to St Margaret's Hospice, I've not been going weekly because there's weeks that I've missed, but I've been going there for daycare, and it's physiotherapy, having lunch, conversations. It's a bit like a version of Maggie's Cancer Centre, except this is kind of end of life, late life care, and it's not just about cancer, whereas Maggie's is about cancer. St Margaret's Hospice is about all forms of late life illness and so on. So that's the and the other piece of news I got on Friday, together with the news of getting this new treatment, which is fantastic news, was that this book has now appeared in print, Cancer Ya Dancer. This was a kind of pipe dream in a way. In fact, it was a sort of steroid dream that I had, that I was going to write a collection of poems called Cancer Ya Dancer, and it would be my third collection of poetry. I had two little books of poems published last summer. The two books of poems I published last summer were She Wakes Me Up, which was a collection of love poems, which I described as the greatest collection of love poems since Shakespeare's sonnets. And then the other collection I published was called Scrap Metal, Mettle, Mettle, which was about childhood, family, politics, Celtic Football Club, Irish history and so on. Spanish Civil War, which my father fought in. So those two collections came out together over a period of time, and they were a lot easier to write than this. This was difficult to write because I had a lot of poems. I had about 50 or 60 poems because I'd written a lot of poems on steroids. The problem with steroids is you think everything's wonderful, everything's great, and then you come off the steroids and you go, ooh, and suddenly everything's not great. So there's 28 poems that have survived the cull, but I'm pleased with them because I moved away from it being purely personal, being my story of my cancer, my type of cancer, advanced prostate cancer, metastatic prostate cancer, and being able to talk about, and obviously chemotherapy, because another one of the titles for this collection at one point was Chemo Savvy. But it's not just about chemotherapy, it's not just about me, it's about my experience of cancer and other people's experience of cancer, their experience of cancer. And I called it Cancer Your Dancer for a reason, which is at Maggie's Cancer Centre at the Gap Naval Hospital on Monday afternoons, we have an exercise class called Functional Fitness, and there's music played in the background while you're doing the exercises, so it's a kind of exercise, dancercise class. And now and again we all go into a kind of disco dance moves and so on. And it's so joyful, so free, and so uplifting that I just thought I'd come up with this expression, Cancer Your Dancer, which is a kind of, I suppose it's Glaswegian, it might be seen as more widely Scottish expression, your dancer, meaning something's great, and obviously cancer's not great, but then the way that people cope with cancer is great, the way that they survive cancer is great, the way that they talk to each other about cancer is wonderful. So I think Cancer Your Dancer became the right title in the end, but I'm delighted this is out there. I didn't know if it was going to be out, if it was going to be one of my posthumously published works, because I've got several academic essays in print just now, and as any academic knows, something in press rather than print or in progress, it might be 3, 4, 5 years before it appears, and I'll have disappeared by then. So Cancer Your Dancer is now out and about in the world, and that's delightful for me. So that's where I am at the moment. The morphine makes me sleepy and it makes me nap a lot. I mean, if I was left to my own devices, I would sleep 20 hours a day, which is not a good idea. But fortunately, my wife Deanie keeps me on my toes, and we go walks together. We go walks in the woods, walks down by the canal and so on, walks through the park. And that keeps me going, and also getting visits from people, and it's nice because I feel like Don Corleone in a way, because people come to see me rather than me going to meet them halfway or going to their place. So people come to see me at the house, and that's been a lovely thing, and we factor in a walk and conversation and so on. So being able to talk about things, talk about cancer, and defuse and demystify a lot of the fear around cancer. That's really been my ambition in these podcasts, and in writing this collection of poems, and in all the conversations that I've had, and I acknowledge that in this collection, all the support that I've had, and all the input, and all the whatever the opposite of fear mongering would be, fear clearing or fear repudiating. And it's been so important. So I think hopefully this little book contributes to people's sense of the fact that you can still dance and keep on dancing. And I would urge everybody to do exactly that.